All right, I want to break down something incredibly important today. There's one word that's been skyrocketing in the Google search engine over the past week as Americans across the country try to wrap their heads around its meaning, and I'd like to really do a deep dive on it today. So just to lay the groundwork, we all know that Elon Musk is expected to use office space in the White House complex once Trump takes office in a few days. And this isn't because he was elected by anybody, it's because he bought his way in. He spent $200 million of his own wealth on Trump's campaign. He rented a headquarters in Pennsylvania so he could go knock doors himself. He also held a giveaway, $1 million giveaway for people who voted in red counties. And this was all after he basically blew $44 billion on Twitter as it hemorrhaged money. I guess he didn't blow the money because look where it got him, into the White House. Now, that also connects with the corporations and billionaires who are bankrolling Trump's inauguration. Some of the richest people in the country have poured hundreds of millions of dollars into Donald Trump's presidential inaugural committee. Just listen to this for 1 second. Obama's inauguration in 2009 was worth $53 million. Trump's inauguration is going to be 4 times that amount because people like Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, people like OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, or Mark Zuckerberg, or the Uber CEO, or Ken Griffin, who's a hedge fund manager, Elon Musk, they are all donating a massive amount of money to Trump's inauguration fund. And you can probably see where I'm going with this, but I do want to say that rich people meddling with politics has been a thing since the inception of America. It's not always inherently bad. People like George Soros have used their money for good, but in this scenario, it's getting quite scary. For example, Bezos, the world's second richest man, said, quote, "Trump seems to have a lot of energy around reducing regulation, and if I can help him do that, I'm going to help him," Bezos said. "We do have too much regulation in this country," says the world's second richest man. Their message is clear. When Trump takes a presidential oath of office on January 20th, his job is to work for them. This dude ran a campaign as a populist who's going to help the American people, yet he has all of these rich people at his inauguration with $1 million tables, and that's why this article was brought to my attention. Searches for what is an oligarchy spike after Biden's warning. Biden gave his farewell address about 2 days back, and he just straight up said it. We are turning into an oligarchy. I'll play the clip in 1 second, but after that, we saw a massive spike in the Google search trends. So this website right here is named Google Trends. It's run by Google, and you can see how people search things, what rate they searched at. What is an oligarchy is what I have typed in right here, and the interest over time spikes from about 1 or 0 to 100 after Biden gave his farewell address. You can even see the dark blue states are states where there were extra searches, and we're seeing a lot of searches in red states. So in Indiana, you see 89 out of 100. Alabama, 91 out of 100. Georgia, 86, compared to the interest before being at about 1. For a while, it was at 0. No one was searching what this was in late December. And the top related result down here is Joe Biden. So Joe Biden's farewell address directly opened a lot of people's eyes. So I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into what an oligarchy is. I know I've talked about a lot on this show. I've drawn parallels to Russian oligarchs and the way that people entrench their power with wealth, but I'm not sure if I've ever done a full video laying out the definition and then building on top of that to show everyone the situation that we're in. So make sure you drop a like, subscribe, watch this video till the end. And if you're going to share any video with your family or your MAGA family members, it should probably be this one. I'm not even going to be talking about Trump as much in this video. It's just about the broad state of American politics. So, what is an oligarchy? Well, Britannica says oligarchy, government by the few, especially despotic power exercised by a small and privileged group for corrupt or selfish purposes. Oligarchies in which members of the ruling group are wealthy or exercise their power through their wealth are known as plutocracies. So you could also say that we're slowly turning into a plutocracy, but oligarchy is a term that Biden used, so we'll just keep digging in on that. There's also this article that talks about how Putin conquered Russia's oligarchy. They used to be run purely by an oligarchy, but Vladimir Putin said to the rich people, either you're loyal to me or you go to prison. Isn't that basically what Trump said about Mark Zuckerberg? I mean, Mark Zuckerberg very clearly began going along with what Trump was saying after Trump said he may put him in prison. And Trump was even asked, do you think it's because of your threats against Zuckerberg that he's now a Republican? And Trump said, yeah, Probably. So let me read this really quickly. In the summer of 2000, 21 of the richest men in Russia exited their bulletproof limousines and entered the Kremlin for a historic meeting. In the previous decade, these men had risen seemingly out of nowhere, amassing spectacular fortunes as the country around them descended into chaos. Through shady deals, outright corruption, and even murder, these rapacious oligarchs, as Russians have come to derisively call them, had seized control of much of Russia's economy and, increasingly, its fledgling democracy. But now, their nation's newly elected president, Vladimir Putin, wanted to tell them, face-to-face, who was really in charge. Quote, "I want to draw your attention to the fact that you built this state yourself, to a great degree, through the political or semi-political structures under your control. So there is no point in blaming the reflection in the mirror. Putin offered the oligarchs a deal. Bend to my authority, stay out of my way, and you can keep your mansions, super yachts, and private jets, and multi-billion-dollar corporations. Corporations that, just a few years before, had been owned by the Russian government. In the coming years, the oligarchs who reneged on this deal and undermined Putin would be thrown into a Siberian prison or be forced into exile or die in suspicious circumstances." Now, this is obviously an extreme example. The US is not Russia, and people who are saying that we are already Russia are sort of just obeying in advance. A lot of my commenters are like, "Oh, Adam, it's so cute of you to think that we're ever going to have another election again." That is a form of obeying in advance. Just admitting that we're never going to have an election before Trump even takes office means, in a way, you are obeying in advance and you're just giving up. You're being that cynical. We need to keep fighting. We are not Russia. And I know people in the comments are going to be like, "Adam, we basically are Russia." We're not. We're not Russia yet. Trust me. Quote, "These individuals have enriched themselves at the expense of the Russian people," the White House said in a recent statement announcing sanctions against over a dozen oligarchs connected to Putin. Quote, "They sit atop Russia's largest companies and are responsible for providing the resources necessary to support Putin's invasion of Ukraine." So in Russia's case, we can safely say that oligarchs are a small group of unelected individuals who have concentrated their power by wielding their disproportionate amount of wealth. And they use their wealth to entrench their power within politics outside of the formal election systems. Can I just go back to this article? Elon Musk is expected to use office space in the White House complex. The richest man in the world has bought his way into the White House, and now he gets an office space. Not because he was elected. He wasn't even born in America. He was not elected by anybody. The location suggests that Mr. Musk, who owns companies with billions of dollars in contracts with the federal government, will continue to have remarkable access to President-elect Donald J. Trump. Can I just go back to what Bezos said? Quote, "He seems to have a lot of energy around reducing regulation, and if I can help him do that, I'm going to help him. We do have too much regulation in this country." This is the second richest man in the world saying, "Hey, this regulation is making it really hard for me to get rich and exploit my workers." Bro, you're already rich. What type of regulations do you want to remove other than things that will just hurt American citizens? So let's watch this video of President Biden during his farewell address. Now that I've laid out the groundwork, now I can play this video of President Biden and we can all be on the same page. I know that you guys know what an oligarchy is, but there is something to be said that most Americans had to search this after Biden's farewell address and that this spiked. So let's listen to this.
That's why my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. This is a dangerous and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. And the dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before. More than a century ago, but the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy. They just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to.
Just play by the rules that everybody else has to play by. And let me remind you guys, President Biden is very careful with his words. If I have one criticism of his presidency, it's that he was probably too risk averse at certain points. There were certain times when he didn't want to rock the boat regarding Russia, or he didn't have the strength needed on the international stage to keep Russia in check. And I think Biden had a great domestic presidency. I mean, I think he passed some historic legislation. He is a great human being, but the least I can say is I think there are certain moments where he was a little bit too risk averse, and that showed on the world stage. But right here, He is being very careful with his words. He would not say the U.S. is turning into an oligarchy if he didn't mean it. He's not just Trump. Trump will bloviate and he'll throw out any word whenever it suits his interest. Trump will literally say anything to anybody. Biden is not like that. Biden is very careful with what he says and does because he understands that what he does sends a message. So let's finish off with this article. President Joe Biden, in his farewell address to the nation on Wednesday, warned that American democracy is being threatened by a burgeoning oligarchy. Oligarchs are a subset of the very, very wealthy. And this is an important distinction right here. Being rich doesn't necessarily make you an oligarch. An oligarch is someone who influences politics outside of the formal system, explained by Brooke Harrington, who studies this exact thing at Dartmouth University. She spoke with the 5-minute fix in 2022 when U.S. sanctions were targeting Russian oligarchs at the outset of the war in Ukraine. Quote, "It's someone who isn't an elected representative or cabinet member, but who has the ear of the president." And she said this before Elon Musk was really MAGA. I mean, in 2022, Elon Musk had bought Twitter, but he wasn't like full-on, full-throated MAGA yet. She then pointed to the late Sheldon Adelson, a billionaire casino tycoon and Republican megadonor who did work on U.S.-Israeli relations. And now Sheldon's wife, Miriam, is one of Trump's biggest donors and even got the Presidential Medal of Freedom after Trump's first term. That is an example of an American oligarch. Elon Musk almost certainly fits the definition today, no matter where the definition is coming from, whether you're getting it from Merriam-Webster or even Wikipedia, it doesn't matter. Elon Musk almost certainly fits the definition. The tech billionaire has taken calls with foreign leaders. He stopped a government spending bill in its tracks by sending out a few tweets or X's or whatever the hell, and seemingly hasn't left President-elect Donald Trump's side since the end of the campaign. He's an unofficial leader in the Republican Party. Some Democrats have derisively called him co-president, but he is. He is literally the co-president, and this is an oligarchy in every sense of the term. Why Trump tends to attract oligarchs. This part is important. Harrington argues there have always been American oligarchs. Like I said at the beginning of the video, rich people have always been putting their thumb on the scale. Most of the time, we don't want that. We can have a separate conversation about money and politics in general, but what we're seeing is new. This is a different scale from George Soros donating to Obama's campaign in 2008. This is different. And I also will say, I think Trump will change what the presidency in America means or what it looks like. I genuinely think that in 20 years, being president will mean something completely different after Trump's term. In 2008, the presidency will not mean the same as what it means in 2040. And I can make another video about that. But Trump has a lot to do with it and a lot to do with why the oligarchy is growing. Many in the business community view him as a purely transactional president. He's a very transactional person, and that you get what you give. And so oligarchs and potential oligarchs are growing in influence and number. And as he prepares again to take office, several tech titans are making an almost dizzying amount of business moves that could be easily perceived as being for Trump. Meta's Mark Zuckerberg ending fact-checking on his social media platforms, removing tampons from certain bathrooms, doing certain things about pronouns. I mean, it's all just posturing, right? Jeff Bezos, who founded Amazon and owns the Washington Post, spiked a Kamala Harris endorsement from the Post's editorial board. The TikTok CEO will be at Trump's inauguration on Monday, a day after the platform is expected to be banned. Actually, they'll all be at Trump's inauguration, including the heads of Google, the head of Apple. They've all donated millions of dollars to Trump's inauguration because, quote, we're witnessing tech CEOs scrambling to curry favor. And the Trump administration has not even begun, said Maximilian Potter, a journalist with the group Protect Democracy. Trump also appears to be integrating his wealthy allies into the government, not unlike his first term, where many of his cabinet members were millionaires or billionaires. Musk, the richest man in the world, and millionaire biotech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy will lead an initiative tasked with cutting government spending and waste, with Republicans in Congress following their lead. And here's what I was saying earlier, and I want to make an entire other video about this, but an oligarchy can be hard to stop once it's in motion. I genuinely think that after this Trump term, the office of the presidency will mean something different. It has long been the case that big money controls politicians, as I said. But Musk's and other billionaires' growing influence on the system could be a product, a direct result of Americans' dissatisfaction with how responsive, or the lack of responsiveness, from the government over the past few years. Trump and the billionaires with whom he's aligned himself are seen among his supporters as outsiders who will disrupt the status quo in Washington. Whether we like it or not, quote, Democrats have become associated with the elite, with political correctness. There are times when Democrats are a little bit too finger-waggy. No, don't do that. Don't do that. explaining that the party came across during the campaign is more interested in the causes of higher educated urban communities than the rest of America. I don't know if I agree exactly with that perception, but yes, people did think Trump was for them due to a multitude of reasons. Russia is the poster country for oligarchs. There, oligarchs are fully embedded in politics. They are directing culture, serving in high-profile governmental jobs. Can I just go back to this article one more time? This dude is going to have an office in the White House. In the White House, quote, there are no laws against a president and his super wealthy cabinet using their power to benefit their own class. There is nothing that compels them to look beyond their privilege to address the needs of the citizenry. In other words, it's going to be up to voters to hold leaders accountable for putting the rich first. And in order to show voters that their interests are being put second, we're going to have to push back relentlessly. We're going to have to dominate the narrative, and that's where you and I come in. Every single day, we're going to be pushing back on this channel, so I'll end off with that. Drop a like, subscribe. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one, and peace out.